So this is the last sprint, and we have two more talks. The first one will be with Michael. So Michael is a really busy man. He's the proud father of four. I can tell you, it's huge work. And is the head of business development at Apps with Love, and is also lecturing at various universities and of applied sciences. So after his studies in international management in 2010, he started his digital career at Swisscom as a product manager. Am I right? Right?
More or less.
More or less, yeah. And I would like to just you to welcome Michael on stage. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. It's a real pleasure to me to be here today. And I must admit, I'm a little bit nervous after so many really great talks, pretty academic, pretty profound in design. And I must admit, in the beginning, I never studied at this school and I'm not a designer. But still, I'm a little bit gonna talk about design. Design from a perspective of our company. I work for Apps with Love, and we have designed many screens. We are designing digital products, and my job there is actually the first contact with any client. He's gonna tell me, or she's gonna tell me, her ideas about what's the goal, what's the business, how much is the budget, and I'm gonna accompany this client from the first idea to the final product. And on this way, I touch many times with our designers, and of course, and I try to make this interplay between designers and developers a nice thing. And yes, that's my speech today. It's about screen design from idea to final product, and I still gonna hope to add a little bit value to this great event. And please forgive me also my language. It's not my native language, and I hope the native speakers will still understand me. So this is our title slide. It's our company, and as I already mentioned, I will talk here from my perspective. What's the designer's job? How many things? What things he has to do? What to consider? And yeah. Very much I will reference to some cases in real life. For example, the Go mobility app is one example. We just have finished a product, not finished, it's never finished, but we just launched in the market. And I will reference during my talk to this project. I choose this project because it's something for Zurich, and here we are in Zurich, even though a very international audience I see. But if I would tell many times when I'm speaking in Zurich, I cannot bring a case from Bern or from Geneva because Zurich is a little bit special, and yes, good. This is our app development process. It could be even more visually shown that everything is iterating and everything is merged, but however, any project will start with some contact with the client, and we need to find out first what does this client want and what's the whole context of it. Like, of course, I have a lot to do with user researchers, psychologists, with designers, and they all know how it should be done in best practice and in theory and so on. But however, in reality, you always have a client, and this client has some ideas, he has some budgets, and sometimes it's not possible to actually go through the perfect line of designing. But anyway, after you have defined scope, you start with the concept. Concept is kind of like the functional design, what is where, and of course not how it will look like, but what stuff I will place where that the user understands. And there, as already my previous speakers many times mentioned, it's very important to prototype very fast. We go there even in the requirements phase. We often apply kind of like tell it the design approach, but here everyone is designer, so it might be silly to say something like that. It's just like a client will be able to write down the requirements, but high level, and then there is a certain point you have to you can decide whether you want to sit down with the client for 2 more weeks to make these requirements more detailed and more detailed and more detailed, or you go more that you start with design first. So you already go from this high level requirements, you design screens, and then you will realize what else needed and what's already there and so on, and you write the requirements afterwards. So we go very often kind of like design approach, so we get high level requirements and our designers already start creating scribbles to make the ideas visualizing, to visualize the ideas. After that, of course, there is the design. Design often comes from the client. He has already a defined corporate identity, corporate design. You have to think inside your client what's their language, what's their visual appearance, what's their visual language. But more often, more and more, we have clients, startups, they have not yet any defined corporate identity. So it's also, we love to design corporate identities, and that's what we're going to do with such clients. After that, we design the screens in the colors, and then it will start with the development and testing, of course, very iteratively. This can be like everyone wants to have it in Scrum, of course, a nice word, and you Scrum every day and Scrum and Scrum. And you can also just not tell it Scrum, but you can define sprints, and you make a sprint, and after sprint you make a review, and then you go on, and you can do it in the waterfall principle, or you can do it if you have a client like the state of Switzerland. You have to adopt your processes to Hermes because they all have to work in Hermes, and you even have to call the phases you are in the client's word, because otherwise you cannot get paid the bills. So in real life there might be some perfect structure, perfect process how you design anything, but in reality, if you have clients, you sometimes really have to adapt this to the context. And of course there is release, and here in this phase you may think why he's gonna telling us that and so on, we all know that, or it's not about design, but it's really about design, because our designers are very often sad if they designed something very nice and then the developers do not act as they wish they act, or the design is not looking like that as it was on paper or on screen. So during the development phase, the designer's job is really to accompany the developers to see all the beta releases, track the design and see if it's really how he wanted it. And also, of course, this goes closer and closer together, interaction, I mean, more and more transitions, animations and stuff like that, you know already. So finally, it's a release, and also the designers help me or help us to create the marketing materials and so on. So my job for this presentation was also to tell something about design strategy, and I must admit I had to Google this term, and it didn't help because there were so many definitions of design strategy. So I will not tell you anything new or anything that's probably correct, but how I understand design strategy is exactly my job. I take into account what's the experience of the client, what's the experience of the designer, of the whole team, of the company, what's the culture, how much is the budget, and what they really want, and in what industry they are. I mean, it's completely different if you work with builders. That was my first job I done in my life. I learned how to build houses. And that's really another culture, another approach how I would develop with them an application and design an application than with Swisscom or some other companies that might be already further in design thinking or how to do it, and users can be used for testing and so on. So it really depends on all this stuff, and we have certain principles we should stick on that, for example, that we want to emphasize design, that it's important, and there is no product without design. I mean, I got some clients, they tell me, yeah, I just want development from you. There's no design needed. And these are some principles we should be hard and say, no, so maybe you have to find some other people, other company that will lead you to that will give you development only. So, first idea, what and why. It's important to know what's the challenge. You have to really dive into the challenge. Like for this Go application, it's for the taxi industry, and you really have to get to know this. You have to go to these drivers, you have to go to the clients, you have to understand context, what's the target audience, what's their perceptions, their beliefs and behavior. Otherwise, you cannot design a great mobile application for them. What's really what they really want to offer to the people, what problem they really want to solve, what's their value proposition, hypotheses. We think that that and that, and this, of course, these hypotheses you then have to be validated in the market. You have to do some research, and it really helps. You all know that, but it also costs a lot of money. And how much market research you can do or not sometimes really depends on the client's budget, I must say. And after that, I think you have your design strategy. I don't know. But after you have done all this stuff, you know, okay, this is the context, this is the client, that's the way how we want to do it. I hope this is not completely wrong. Please hold your hands if it's completely wrong. Okay, since no one did, which is usually the case, I'm happy. I'm not going to talk about that because you all know more about human-centered design or user-centered design than me. But what's important in my case is that I often get clients and they hear about some new technologies and they say, I want an app with beacons. Okay, let's create an app with beacons. And what does this help to the client or to the end user, and what's your business case behind? And often it's very important that we bring these other perspectives also to our clients. Then, of course, you have to somehow write down some requirements that the designer will know how and where can he design or why is what designed. You make user journeys. Out of these user journeys, we try to find out the user stories. Out of the user stories, you still have to add non-technical requirements, and then you may know the scope of the project. We often recommend our clients to start with an MVP, not with the Rolls-Royce, and that's sometimes hard and so on. But yeah, after we have the scope, we can actually finally make him or her an offer, because many come to us and they say, I have an app idea, how much costs an app? And I say, yeah, okay, it can cost you 40,000 or 1 million. And then we have to somehow in this phase find out what's the scope, and that will then give him or her the price. And then you go to this functional design. Often, as I already told you before, you start with that in the requirements phase already, because often only writing down some requirements will not solve the problem, because a prototype tells you more than 1,000 words. That's also something everyone knows here. So you have first scribbles, and you go further. You then have some mock-ups, or how you call that, and wireframes and so on. So it goes from very low fidelity to higher fidelity. We often use prototyping tools then to make short user research to show the client how it works. And this is the way to do. to summarize, in this functional design, it's really important because that's the detailed concept, that's the heart of the final product in my point of view. And there you should really take time to iterate, to test, to go through, because later on it will be too expensive to come back and change everything. This is then for this Go project, for this taxi project. They didn't have any corporate identity because it became a new company. So we are happy to help our clients also with that. We start, yeah, that's how it looks like. And visual design, how in terms of color, and of course you have to define fonts, and don't forget, fonts for mobile are often very, very expensive. Many clients have their normal, thank you very much, corporate identity with some font, and when we want to use them for mobile, it costs them a fortune, because that market has not yet, I don't know, it's not so competitive or so. So think about colors, icons, fonts, also they have to be done and buy, and they cost sometimes a fortune. Animations, transitions, it's very important. In the early stages, apps were basically showing something very easy, and nowadays you really need to think about the whole experience in depth, and that leads to a lot of transitions and stuff and animations to make people really use your application still after the first usage. Touchable prototypes, user research, and then finally you will have your visual design. Here we can see this design is for two apps. It's not the same application, because for this product you have the driver application for those people who drive the cabs, and you have the user application for those people who try to get a cab. I really recommend you to try this app out. It's still in a beta phase, but here in Zurich we have some taxis, so if you're lucky they will come and you will have a great experience. If not, don't call me, and we have no stake in this product. Anyway. Quality assurance, it's strange to put this on any stage, because it's actually through all the stages. It's very important, test early, fail cheap, all this stuff, and this starts already in the first stage. But of course, in mobile app development, it's very difficult. In Android especially, you have Aldi Süd somewhere selling some tablet that has a square screen, and you need to make sure that your design also matches this screen. It's pretty hard. Some have missing sensors and stuff, and this all has to be taken into account. And functional testing, of course, and you have also design reviews during the whole development process, and user tests all the way along. Good, and I'm finishing soon. Yeah, for app publishing and promotion, of course, this whole user journey for our designers ends only when the product is in the market, and there some of them like to make movies, screencast videos, and social media, banners, and app store, screen previews, app icons, and so on and so forth. So these are some examples also our designers make for Go. We make stickers and stuff like that. Yes. So for me as a non-designer, designers really have a lot of empathy. I mean, they can really sink into other people. But that's what everyone tells you, and mostly they can sink into the user. But in my point of view, you must be also sinking into the project manager's job, because he has a lot of pressure from the client, in the client's world, in the developer's world, because many designers think, hey, I'm a designer and this is my design, and why can you not do it exactly as I do? And this is difficult, because you really have to show empathy to all your stakeholders, not only to the user, but of course especially to the user. Thank you very much, and that's it.
I'm interested in the different parts of your process, and I would like to know if you could tell us how much time you spend on each of them on average, and which one is the most important for you?
Yes, this again is very much depending on the client side. For example, if you have a job for the state of Switzerland, as one example right now, we have actually won the pitch 1 year ago, and we will start with the process in 2 weeks. So they had 1 year from knowing with whom to work until we can actually start working, and there were some questions between, so it can go very long, just 1 year to start. And then in the first phase of requirements, this really much depends on how big is the project. I mean, we had some project for a smart home. So in smart home, that's probably the only way where you think, okay, more is not less, because you don't want 10 applications to control your home. So you have like 30 functions in your application, and this first part of requirements engineering can be so long that you say, okay, we just start little and start designing it, developing it, and continuous all parallel, you know, sometimes. And so on average, an app project goes between 3 to 6 months. Some other goes 9 months, and some crazy projects go 1 year. But I think if you set a scope that is more than 1 year, it makes not too much sense anymore, because the market is so dynamic, and after 1 year, maybe technology is different that you specified in the beginning. So that's the average process. And the most important part for me is the functional design, I think, yeah, because that's the heart. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, we have a question here.
My question going to be a little bit maybe tricky. Like
Thank you.
you said, sometimes people come to you and say they just only want development, and you say no. And some projects maybe don't even require apps. So in the beginning, like, how much time do you spend on is really app required? And if, like, your point of view, like for this project, even the app is not required, like how do you handle that from your personal point of view?
It's a very good question, because what we don't want is to sell everyone an app. That's, of course, also our belief. And it depends very much if a client or a startup comes to me just with an idea, I have this product and so on, I can really influence that and tell them, hey, did you think, I think an app is not necessary or something like that. So if I get early into this process, I have more chance, or we have more chance to influence and make a proper decision what kind is good. But sometimes we receive projects from big companies. They have been already 1.5 years turned inside the company, and they have 150 pages of requirements, and all leads to this application, and then it's difficult to tell them to it's all for nothing. But yeah, it really depends. It really depends where we are, but we really try to not develop an app if it's not necessary. Yeah.
Thank you. Any more questions? Yeah.
Hi. You told before that it's important for you that the designer knows that the design won't be perfect, and the relationship between the designers, the developers, and the business. How do you manage the egos? Because in my experience, in my experience, the developers, the designers have strong egos, and they have to work towards the same goal. But how do you manage to make them work together and to understand each other?
We play a lot of ping pong and dart and table football. Yeah, I think this is exactly very difficult, but if you can manage to bring them together, also in one room, and to understand each other also besides their work, this helps already. But of course, both sides needs to be open, you know, for new approaches, new ideas, and that's important to tell them. And sometimes it clashes, and usually it's the project manager who is kind of also a mediator and needs to realize, okay, right now we have a problem because he thinks it's his problem and he thinks his problem, and you have to bring the people together to talk about it and then to find a solution. And but it's really difficult. I have not some recipe I can tell you. Just they need to be friends. Yeah.
Thank you. How about you buy them a pizza?
Yeah, that's what all the LAN parties do. But I don't know if we have a lot of designers. They have more. They want more than a pizza. No,
I know.
No, it's okay. I mean, maybe yeah. Why not? Food together, of course. Some activities that bring people together are always good. Yeah, we even. Since we realized, okay, that might be important, we have introduced a lot of games in the company. And then we forced everyone, hey, you need to stand up every day, a couple times to play and so on, and they just didn't do it. And then we had to enforce more, and now we have an alarm. And even though you're in a workshop with a client, everyone has to stand up and do some games, you know. Otherwise, we were not able to introduce such a good measure. And yeah, sometimes you really have to force the people for their luck somehow.
So we have a question. Yeah, please do. I think we have a bit more time. Okay, just one question then. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, what's the relationship between the number of developers and the number of designers and actually everybody that's involved in each project? How many people approximately are working in each area?
Yes, I would say we always have two designers. We started that just that they have the exchange. There's never just one designer on one project. And in our company, we have actually more designers than developers, but we partner also with external developers. So the maximum, I think, that makes sense per platform, let's say, because we usually develop native apps. So on iOS, in Objective-C and Swift, and we think more than 3 developers on the same project does not make too much sense, because then they have too much interchange and they make rubbish to each other. And that's per platform and also in the back end. And then you have 2 to 3 designers, 1 to 2 user researchers, at least 1 project manager, sometimes 2. And yeah, I think that's more or less the project team mostly. Yeah, but depending on the application, it can be also smaller. Yeah.
Thank you. So Michael will be around. I'm sorry for those who had more questions. Please feel free to grab him after. We will have some drinks, so he will be there, I guess.
Of course.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.